garage, a blue garage. No idea where I'm going. Oh, thank you. How do you guys find your way around here?
You just practice, I guess.
My gosh.
Practice very carefully.
So I usually go to one specific place and then someone meets me and I walk to this center or that center, but I'm with someone. So I had to call Yanatha to come get me. So I'm sorry to keep everybody waiting. I know it's annoying. I know you probably have so much to do.
And because it's finals is next week, and all
Oh
those
my
things.
gosh.
Yeah. So I was gonna do the formal introduction, but we're not. We're not even gonna do that.
Okay.
We're just gonna jump right in.
Thank you for my clapping, my applause. That made me feel really good.
Round of applause. One more time.
Thank you.
Kimberly,
Yes.
I don't know if anyone knows who you are and how you serve. Can you talk about how did you get to the Kimberly Green Foundation? I mean, the Green Family
Foundation.
Kimberly Green Foundation. Tell us what it's all about, its purpose, and its why.
Okay, that's a lot. I have to go from A to Z very quickly. Okay, so first off, I think the most important thing to know is that I come from a place of privilege. My family started this foundation, so I was able to study and able to make decisions in my life where I was able to go into the foundation and work for my family. So I had a head start, so I want to start with that. My parents are from Miami. Yeah.
Of course, it's called Making Moves in Miami.
Well, my mom is actually from New York, but they moved here, they got married in the 60s, so, I mean, the 60s was 100 years ago. So, my parents, when they got married, they had $300 and a used Volkswagen.
Say that again, $300.
$300 and a used Volkswagen.
We'll stop right there, right?
Yeah, and now, I think we all know the Green Library.
Yes.
That's named after my parents. So my father and mother were able to accelerate their professional lives. The 70s and the 80s were a good time for them. My father got early involved in politics, and then got involved in real estate. Real estate's kind of a bad word now, because I think of gentrification and I think of everything that's happening. When you look at Miami, I'm sure, I don't know how many of you are from Miami, but you know how much Miami's changed in the last 10 years. So the growth has accelerated. Back in the 70s and 80s, Miami was not what it is today. And so my father and mother were able to make investments. They were able to, my dad had vision. And through his education, he went to University of Miami, but didn't graduate. I don't think I'm supposed to say that.
It's all right. We're not
But,
gonna put that
excuse
in.
me, I'm gonna take a sip.
We're not gonna put that in the video. Don't worry. And if it is in the video, don't worry.
Yeah, right. Well, I think he's 80 now, so I think the statute of limitations on embarrassment has run out.
Round of applause for an 80-year-old, right? 80 years old is a beautiful age.
So in any case, back in the 90s, my parents had become successful and they wanted to give back. And they wanted to, they thought about how they could give back to the community that had given them so much, which is Miami. So the first things that they talked about investing in was education. And my father had visited FIU and he had seen the students at FIU. He had worked with Mitch Medic, who the campus is named after, is the campus?
Yeah, Modesto Medi.
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
So he worked with him and he worked with Rosenberg, who I know is no longer here. And they had a vision for a medical school. They had a vision for a library. So they had a vision to grow FIU. So our first big anchor investments were in education. But through that, we were able to, when I took over the foundation in 96, oh my God, that's a long time ago. Probably none of you were born in 96. I took over in 96 and we decided to create, what are the needs that we see in Miami-Dade County? Where do we see investment could we could get a return on our investment through community works, not through financial. So we have the financial arm of things and then we have the foundation arm.
The impact driven, so return, another
There you go.
ROI.
He's got all the words.
Right, so it's instead of return of investment, it'll be a return on impact.
A return on impact, thank you, yes. So we saw access to education, access to healthcare, access to the arts, and access to social justice. So those are the 4 pillars of the foundation. And when I took over the foundation, it was the 90s. and things were very different. We were not as aware of the issues that we are facing today. I think, you know, your generation and younger generations, and over the course of the last 30 years, people have become more educated on their neighbors, more educated on the experience of their neighbors and how people live. I think that we were very siloed and separated. Communities were strong in and of themselves, but they weren't crossing over to other communities. And I think through immigration and through education and preservation, which is a big thing, we've been able to understand each other more, and this is where the foundation is moving. We've been invested in the arts very heavily, access to the arts and access to healthcare.
Round of applause for that.
You don't have to keep clapping. It's
Right?
nice.
So, but why I say that? Because from $300, right, to investing in real estate and going into public service, then from there, understanding there's more to life than just those things, right?
Right.
From that, what we identify as success, to living a life of significance, right? Giving access, seeing that the silos are there, and there was an opportunity to take those silos and tap into things that were not tapped into before, right? Access to education is huge, right? You're investing in your education right now. Talked about access to the arts that, you know, change lives. And so, talk about how has identify a challenge that you've, well, you talked about your schooling. You said you went to schools to be in a position to work for the family. What did you study?
Well, okay, so I got a luxury degree.
Okay.
I was able to study theology.
Okay.
I wanted to study anthropology, but I was traveling a lot. I lived overseas, and I went to school in New Mexico, so I was studying. And really, when I studied religion, it was the study of how people live.
Okay.
I didn't study to be a missionary. I didn't study to be a religious person, a nun, a priest, or any of those things. It was more about understanding cultures. And I lived in New Mexico, and I did half my schooling in New Mexico and half my schooling in London. So at the School of Oriental and African Studies. So I studied a lot of West African religion and the cross-Atlantic slave trade, and which brought me to really being interested in the Caribbean, the religions of the Caribbean, the culture of the Caribbean, which is why we're invested in the Latin American and Caribbean School at SIPA. And I spent 15 years working in Haiti. And
Pause. Round of applause for working.
Oh my God!
Why? Because I'm from Haiti, so
Yeah.
I wanted to stop there.
When did you come from Haiti?
I was born in Haiti, came here when I was 3.
When you were
I was
3.
3 years
Wow.
old. I remember a few things, and I went back in the 90s.
Okay.
I got a chance to see that. And we talked about, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you,
please.
but you talked about being in the Caribbean and tapping and how it was just the human existence, right?
Mhm.
I saw in your biography here about the recordings in the Library of Haiti. I think it's
Library of Congress.
Library of Congress, and
Yeah.
you did a documentary. Talk about that documentary. It's called "Once There Was a Country Revisiting Haiti."
Okay,
Can you
so
talk about how that came about and go
so
from there?
back in '99, there was a television station, I think it's still around, called A&E.
Yes. So,
And myself and a team were interested in doing a series for A&E called Uncommon Americans. And it was supposed to be about Americans that had come to this country from a place of political, economic, environmental strife, and had become successful and were giving back to both their community of their home origin and the United States. So this was before 9/11, and we had identified a Haitian doctor, and we had identified an Afghani nurse, and we got some money to film in Haiti, but then 9/11 happened. 9/11 happened, and the whole environment changed across America, where we were not interested in the outside. We kind of closed up, kind of what's happening here. But we kind of like closed our doors, and A&E and a few other interested parties were like, we're not doing anything on immigrants, nothing on immigrants. But I had already been to Haiti, and I had already started filming a little bit and met these doctors, and I fell in love with Haiti. So we were able to get the funding to finish the documentary. It took us 3 years. And we followed 2 families. One family that lived in the countryside that were TB positive. And it was about how they got access to healthcare in a healthcare system that is very stressed. You know, I mean, things have changed. They fluctuated a lot in Haiti over the years. Right now, we're in a very difficult time of strife. But back then, we were in a very hopeful time. I say we, meaning Haiti, had a president that was working for the people. It was a different time. So we followed one family, and then we followed a young man who was HIV positive, and his access to his medications, and how he had to travel to the DR to cut sugarcane to work. So we followed them over the course of 3 years, the success stories, and we followed the doctors. And I hope does everyone know who Maya Angelou is?
Yes.
Okay.
Who doesn't know the person?
And it's okay if you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody knows who she is. Okay, you're laughing, but she's on a quarter now, right? Isn't she? Isn't she?
I think they're working on it.
They're working on it. Okay.
Maya Angelou is an American icon
Yes.
in terms of literature and so much more. But yes,
She was the poet laureate. She spoke at Clinton's inauguration, and so she narrated the documentary. So I was really, really fortunate enough to meet her, to spend a good year with her. And over time, I spent more time with her, got to know her family. Amazing human being, incredible human being, very intimidating. But that's only because she's so strong and has accomplished so much, not because she has any negative qualities, but because when you're in her presence, you're just in awe. You're in awe of someone who has seen so much, experienced so much, and has given back so much to so many people.
thank you for sharing that. And so you said about access to education, access to the arts, access to information about social justice. Why those pillars? Why is that so important?
Why are those pillars so important? Well, obviously, I don't want to say obviously. First off, access to education is a fundamental backbone of how we can grow.
So access to education is a fundamental backbone of how we can grow. That's so
Yeah, and I think we're all here because you all have chosen FIU. FIU is a wonderful school. I think that FIU offers such a diverse plethora, or whatever word you want to put in there, of courses, of people, of opportunity here, and we saw that at the foundation. We chose we work in other areas of education, but FIU is our anchor institution. So everything I do with grassroots organizations throughout Miami-Dade County, we try to tie in through FIU, so that the students here have access and the teachers have access to the community outside of FIU.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so access to education, and then we talked about the arts. Why the arts?
Why the arts? Okay. Well, the arts, you have, okay, why the arts? Oh my God, that's a difficult question. Well, it's not really difficult. I mean, it's kind of, the arts are our expression. You know, my father said something to me the other day, that we have our IQ and we have our EQ. And our EQ is our emotional, how we grow our emotions, how we grow as a person, the human condition. And the arts give us the opportunity to express ourselves in a way that is not academic, although academics can be about the arts. But it gives us another way of using our brain, another way of using our hands, and another way of using our emotions as an outlet.
A holistic approach to life.
There you go.
And so you have education, the arts. You mentioned social justice. I forgot the other pillar.
I forgot it too.
It's okay.
Oh, access to healthcare.
Healthcare.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we know healthcare is about, just health.
So I'll tell you why we got involved in healthcare in FIU at the medical school. So during the course of working in Haiti for so many years, I was able to experience healthcare delivery on a grassroots community level. So it was your neighbor would come over to make sure that you took your medication, to make sure you had food. So it was like a whole I'm sure everyone sort of takes a village to raise a child. I know that's kind of overused, but I spent time in those villages, you know, and I worked with people there who, it's all about your neighbor. It's all about having a community lift you up and support you. So when we got interested in the FIU medical school, we said we're only gonna invest in the neighborhood help program. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but it's, when you go to medical school here, is anyone on a medical track? No? Okay. When you're on the medical track, you are partnered with a family in Miami-Dade County, and you spend the 4 years learning all the social determinants that make up someone's healthcare. So, is your landlord not changing the air filters in your apartment? And that's giving you respiratory. Are you living in a multi-generational household and your grandmother is not a citizen? You know, how does she get access to healthcare, and how does that hinder you? Are you the only English speaker in your home? So all these factors make up your healthcare, and that's what we learned in Haiti, and that's what you learn in underserved communities. So we invested in the underserved communities in Miami-Dade County and access to healthcare for them.
Awesome. And you tapped into those communities that were not tapped into before. And then last but not least, social justice.
All right.
Talk about what has that experience been with the foundation in terms of bringing that to the forefront and things.
So I think that we all are familiar with the term social justice. It's kind of a term that has been used for the positive and the negative in today's environment. I think that how we've got involved through the foundation is a couple of different endpoints. So we started a program at Green Family Foundation called Green Space Miami, which is where we met?
That's where we met, at Green Space Miami.
So Green Space Miami is an art and conversation gallery. And what we do is we bring together artists and community activists to talk about what's happening in Miami-Dade County, what are the critical social issues that we're facing today. And through that, we have developed access and relationships with organizations that are discussing and providing accessibility to voting rights, to trans rights, to LGBTQ, to rights, human rights across the community. And it's scary that right now we're at a time, and I know everyone might have different political views, but we can't all deny that we're human.
That's very true.
We can't deny that we're human, and anything that is human should not be foreign to us. Maya Angelou.
I'll say that one more time.
Maya Angelou said that.
So say it one more time.
Anything that is human should not be foreign to us.
Round of applause for that, please.
So I'm curious about your class.
Well, before we get into that.
Okay.
So this course is called, since you're curious about the class, it's called Making Moves in Miami.
Okay.
So Kimberly, what does making moves in Miami mean to you?
Making moves. Okay. Making moves in Miami is understanding cross-culture communities. So I think that, and understanding is also difficult because everyone has their own interpretation. We're all very subjective. But getting out of your comfort zone, going into areas that might not necessarily be where you grew up or what you're familiar with. There's a great guy who runs a program called Tap Tap Tours. Are you familiar with Sedelka?
I know the Tap Tap course, but I'm not familiar with
Okay, so Tap Tap Tours is just one way. I always tell people about how to get around Miami and learn about other cultures. He is in Coconut Grove, he's in Little Haiti, he's in Overtown, Liberty City, and one other area, I can't remember. And he takes you on tours around in a golf cart, painted like a tap tap. A tap tap is a Haitian truck transportation. It's like a bus, but it's open and it's painted really cool.
Very colorful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And so he takes you around different areas, and you see the historic buildings, you see. And I know taking a tour, that's not immersing yourself in other cultures, but it's an endpoint. It's a door opener, because then you say, oh, there's the restaurants that we should go to, or the nightclub that we should go to, or, you know, and talking to people.
Yeah.
So making moves is not only about making financial moves. It's not only about where you can make money, but it's about how you can understand and learn about communities around you.
And with that, a round of applause.
That's all this time. Well, it keeps you awake at least. I hope I didn't bore you.
One thing before we go.
That was quick.
I have something, well, before we have